Hello everybody, this is Christine Woodcock, the Director of the Reading Program at AIC, and I'd like to thank you for joining me for this brief video. It provides an overview of the culminating experience for reading at AIC, and as you can see from this first slide, I have my email address and my personal cell phone number there if you'd ever like to reach out if you have any questions. We'll also be providing periodic live webinars as well, so you can ask any questions then, but feel free to reach out to me anytime. One of the great values of a video is that you can go back and review this anytime. Traditionally, we met in person in Springfield, and it's just that one time face-to-face event. This is much more valuable in the sense that you can go back and review any material. Today we'll just be going over what is the culminating experience, what are my options. Mostly it will be a strong overview of practicum, including all of its assignments and frequently asked questions, but we'll show you alternatives to the practicum as well. Because it leads to licensure. It's 150 hours of practicum over 16 weeks right in your classroom or school. And you will have a one-on-one supervisor, and there's no weekly class. Some of our students opt to do a research project for degree only. Some of our students do this. It's not as common because it does not lead to licensure as a reading specialist. Some of our students either decide that they're having a little trouble passing an MTEL, and they decide to just put the licensure on hold, or some of our students never really intended on necessarily becoming a reading specialist, but just felt the advanced degree in reading would be helpful to them as a classroom teacher. So there are a couple of reasons why some people choose this avenue, and it's a field-based research project that we often refer to as FBR, and that's also over 16 weeks right in your classroom and school. And again, you would have a one-on-one supervisor from AIC and no weekly class. One of the reasons I like to point out that this is covered over a traditional 16-week semester, whether you do practicum or FBR, you do need to think of this as a traditional 16-week semester because AIC operates on that accelerated 8-week schedule typically. At the very end, when you're doing practicum or FBR, you will be billed twice for 2 8-week sessions to total 16 weeks. I just like to give students a heads up on that because sometimes they question their student accounts billing, and that's why it's the appropriate amount of credits, and it covers you for the 16 weeks so you can finish your mandated credit hours and any licensure requirements for Massachusetts. It is the connotation that it's your last experience for the degree. So as you enter into it and apply for this final semester, all of your coursework needs to be up to date and nearly finished. You need your SEI endorsement, and you need to have passed both your Reading Specialist MTEL as well as that Communication and Literacy MTEL prior to applying for practicum. In addition, you should have already completed or in the process of completing your 30 shadowing hours. And there's a link to the shadowing log here, and the shadowing log will also be in the Blackboard shell, and we often email the shadowing log to you as well. The shadowing is a really great opportunity to be observing a reading specialist in action so you can hit the ground running when you begin your practicum. You already have ideas, techniques, and exciting options in mind so you know exactly what you want to pursue during your practicum. This field-based research, which we refer to as FBR, It resembles a traditional thesis, yet it's with a modern twist because you can do any action research topic in your classroom of your choosing. So, this is a great alternative for people who didn't necessarily intend on becoming a licensed reading specialist, or anybody who's having a little trouble passing the MTEL and just wants to finish the degree in a valuable, meaningful way. What I always tell folks is choose a topic of interest to you, something you've always been passionate about, and you just haven't had the nudge or the time to explore it in any depth. For example, I had a student once who said, I've heard great things about that Lively Letters program, but I've never had an opportunity to try it. Perfect. Implementing Lively Letters in your classroom or with a particular group of students may be the perfect FBR project for you. If you decide that FBR is the option for you, you will need these three materials: an application, a memo of understanding, and a proposal. And there are links to all of those things embedded in this PowerPoint, and they're also found in Blackboard. And I have examples of final papers available at different grade levels and different topics just as inspiration so you can see what a final paper looks like. I have a great pre-K paper in there, as well as a fourth grade example of just some excellent papers that have been written over the years. And I think you'll find them really inspiring. And then you have a model in place as you tackle your own research topic. If you decide to do FBR, the deadline for applying is July 1 for fall and November 1 for spring. And again, all of those links are embedded in here and they're in Blackboard. In practicum, it's 150 hours. At least 100 hours must be in your full active role as a reading specialist, and 50 hours may be spent observing and assisting. You will have a program supervisor who will come to you from AIC to guide you through this process, do observations, and so forth. And you will have a supervising practitioner right in the field with you. And that's what we would traditionally refer to as that mentor teacher who helps guide you through. And for the practicum, there are 5 major assignments, which I'll go over with you right now. One of the things I always like to show is you'll recognize this illustration. It's from a classic picture book, Caps for Sale. Since we're all reading specialists, we love picture books, and I love the connotation this provides because when I was becoming a reading specialist, my mentor held up this image to me, and she did this just to remind me that as reading specialists, we are expected to wear many hats. We're expected to juggle lots of tasks. And I share this illustration with you because it was really powerful for me in remembering and understanding I have to wear lots of hats and juggle many tasks, and you really want to convey that during your practicum for AIC. You'll really want to show your supervisors, you'll really want to show the state that you have a great grasp on literacy across the lifespan. Let's say, for example, you're an awesome third grade teacher. Don't just show me everything that's great about your third graders. You also need to show knowledge, display wisdom across the lifespan. Show me knowledge through your practicum that you also know how to tackle early childhood literacy and even adult and adolescent literacy. You need to show that you know the breadth of literacy across many age spans is through these 5 assignments, and I'll go through each one. And there is a practicum manual that is posted in Blackboard, and that manual is updated every semester and will guide you through. The first assignment is a 3-part reflection paper. Second, there's a competency profile. The competency profile is essentially an e-portfolio. Third, you will be observed several times by your supervisors. Fourth, it's really important that you keep a precise time log in Excel. And five, there will be these CAP forms that you'll need all of the proper signatures on. And the CAP refers to as Candidate Assessment of Performance. Okay, so the three-part reflection paper is actually quite straightforward. It's rooted in what Massachusetts refers to as SMKs. SMK stands for Subject Matter Knowledge. And essentially, it's like Massachusetts frameworks, but for teachers. So we have these standards in place for our students that we know of as frameworks, and SMKs refer to the competencies we would like to see in place for teachers. So in the practicum manual, it lists out these SMKs for you. And what you'll want to do is set goals in relationship to these SMKs right alongside with your supervising practitioner. Because as you think through it, you'll look at the SMKs and think, oh, I'm already really good at such and such. I could stand to grow in these other areas. Perfect. We all have strengths and weaknesses walking through the door. This is a time to set those goals. And the three-part reflection paper is actually like a before, during, and after reflection cycle with descriptions of your experiences. And there are 5 skill building meetings that you have with your supervising practitioner. So part 1 of the paper is, okay, these are my goals walking in. Part 2 is, okay, how am I doing? Because I'm already about halfway through this practicum. And then part 3 is sort of a recap. How did I do? It's sort of just a fancy name for an e-portfolio. It's a space to gather and organize all of your lessons, ideas, videos, photographs, any other pertinent artifacts through your practicum. And you have to provide evidence that demonstrates competency in all of those SMKs. Okay, so everything is rooted in these SMKs. So think of it like this. There are brand new SMKs that Massachusetts just released for reading specialists, and there are 18 of them. You are required to have at least one strong piece of evidence per each of those SMKs. Now, feel free to provide more than one piece of evidence if you so wish, but you are only required to provide one piece of evidence per SMK. Along with that information, you should list any Massachusetts frameworks you're addressing in each SMK, as well as one solid reflective paragraph detailing how you adequately met each SMK. You will have to be formally observed by both of your supervisors. The easiest way to think of this is that you need to be observed 3 times by your AIC program supervisor, and you need to be observed 2 times by your school-based supervising practitioner. Now, that bottom bullet point will be the most helpful for you as you move forward. You have to be observed a minimum of 4 times, so only one observation may overlap with both of your supervisors. When you're observed, you need to provide them with a lesson plan, and within 5 days afterward, you have to provide them with a reflection form back to the supervisor. Another essential piece in your practicum, and this is very important, is you must keep track of those 150 hours. I have an updated template in Excel. There's a link to it embedded here, and there is a link on Blackboard. You must use our template. Don't try to create your own. This is an updated, really modernized template. It's really easy to use. It really cuts back on any errors that we may have experienced traditionally. As you fill in your time log, please provide an accurate description of the activities you completed during each time interval. I find that most of my students record their time daily and not weekly. Daily is better. And for each time period, usually daily, you're writing 1 to 2 descriptive sentences in layman's terms, and please avoid repetitive entries. And this comes up a lot in the sense that as reading specialists, many of us are administering programs such as Wilson, Foundations, or Orton Gillingham. As a result, it may feel repetitive what you're doing every day, but please avoid repetitive entries. For example, say you're doing Wilson. Don't just write Wilson lesson every day. Just provide us with a quick snapshot of what you did during that Wilson lesson. For example, are you working on a particular long vowel pattern? If so, how? Are you using note cards, magnets, games? Just a quick one-sentence description is adequate, but please make sure you're being specific. Of your 150-hour commitment, at least 100 hours must be in your full role responsibilities as a reading specialist. That counts as anything in your active role teaching. Now, the other 50 hours may be spent assisting, observing, attending literacy, professional development, etc. Just think of that 100 hours versus the 50 hours as what is in my active role, and then the rest, if it feels more passive in nature, put it in that 50-hour column. And I also have an example of a time log embedded here as a hyperlink, and that same example is available in Blackboard. These forms that they refer to as CAP, which stands for Candidate Assessment of Performance. All of the forms may be found in the manual provided on Blackboard. I update them every semester. And please be advised that Massachusetts likes to change its CAP requirements and SMKs. I keep on top of them. I check the websites regularly. They just released new SMKs. I keep my eyes peeled on the CAP forms. So make sure you're using the most current manual available. For example, the only manual I have posted in Blackboard right now is fall of 2018, but as each subsequent semester arises, I will post the latest manual. And I love checklists, and there are checklists at the back of every manual, and they're really handy for your final submissions. It's a really easy way to check off and make sure all of your paperwork is in place. Frequently asked questions I get a lot over the years. The first is, what if there isn't a Massachusetts licensed reading specialist in my school? Occasionally I get this question. Every once in a while, there isn't a Massachusetts licensed reading specialist available. For your shadowing hours, you may observe and assist somebody who is not licensed. We're more flexible and lenient with the shadowing hours. However, with practicum, we must be on the up and up. It's really vital that you are supervised by a Massachusetts licensed reading specialist. If you don't have one in your school, the first thing you should do is talk with your principal. Your principal might know of a nearby neighboring reading specialist who would be willing to supervise you. Likewise, second, let me know. If you let me know early enough, we can begin a conversation with your principal, and I can also put my feelers out because I will put forth every effort to find somebody near you who could supervise you. In a pinch, if your principal is agreeable, sometimes we allow the principal to sign off on your practicum if he or she is capable and okay with that. So that's sometimes what we do in a pinch. Another question I get sometimes is, can I count planning time for my hours? And what I always say is any collaborative planning may be counted in that observing and assisting column. Anything you're doing that's consulting, collaborative planning, consulting with colleagues, parents, anything like that. That's an important piece of being a reading specialist. So, yes, anything that's collaborative, consulting, you're working with other human beings, you may put that in your hours. Sometimes it's a little vague if you should put it in that 100 column or that 50-hour column. What I would say is feel free to reach out to me or ask your program supervisor. They're often really knowledgeable about making those distinctions. Another question I get is my hour log right? When in doubt, send me a sample of it. The other thing is, don't wait until the end to show it to your program supervisor or to me. Show us, once a week or every couple of weeks. Reach out to your program supervisor, reach out to me. I have to say, with my brand new template in Excel, it will really cut down on errors. It has data validation in it. So, little error messages will kick back to you if you haven't written enough and that sort of thing. So, I think that the hour logs are going to be looking much better in the future. But if you ever have questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to your program supervisor, and we can guide you with the hour log. But I think that most of the hour logs look great. You definitely want that 1 to 2 sentence specific description in there in layman's terms, so we have a good sense of what you did that time period. And what I will say is that whenever you have questions, just email, text, or call me, and we will be having those periodic live webinars. They'll generally be either on a Saturday morning or even a Monday evening, and you'll have notification of those ahead of time. And I'll send you a Zoom invitation, and that way we can chat live with other students around as well and get all those questions answered. But hopefully, between this little video and all of the documents posted on Blackboard, I think that you're in excellent shape. Thank you.